You are listening to the Neighborhood Housing Services of Southern Nevada Block by Block podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Nino Galloway. I'm back at the Block by Block podcast studio in downtown Las Vegas. I've got just a great episode where a gentleman who is joining us is a leader not only in his space but also in our community. And since we're here to make an impact block by block, who better than the director of our fire service in downtown Las Vegas, or actually all the Las Vegas proper. So Chief Fernando, great, thanks for dropping in.
My pleasure. Pleasure to be here.
I love it. I call it pre-framing, where we kind of just chop it up a little before we start and realize that the same month I retired from the fire service, you got an offer here to move here home.
Yeah, pretty close. Again, I came here in August of 2022, and sounds like you retired in July.
Yeah, and I did. Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, because you've traveled a little bit to make your way here. And so I'd love to introduce many in our community. They don't, unless there's an emergency, a lot of times they don't know about the members and the necessities that are leading us. So fill us in.
Yeah, so again, I actually feel like I've had a pretty great career in the fire service. I didn't have the pleasure of going up or basically starting my career here in the city of Las Vegas. I actually started my career in the city and Dallas Fire Department. And I think it's always important to kind of tell people why and how the passion, so to speak, of how I got into fire service actually is generated. I wanted to be a firefighter since I was 12 years old. And one of the things that really stood out to me is community that I was living, which at the time was in a neighborhood in Dallas called Pleasant Grove. The firefighters were just always around. We talk about community engagement now as far as it being a program, but to be quite honest with you, it was just a cultural thing in that department. And so just in this, there were always firefighters around the fire station with the apparatus doors up. And as a kid, if you walked by and you needed some kind of assistance, frank, they were always there for you. Yep. So I always share with people that one day my brother and I were actually pushing a bike. We're taking the bike up to a gas station to get some air in the tire. And one of the firefighters asked us, "Hey, where are you going?" And we told him, "Hey, it's what we're going to do." And he told us, "Hey, come over here. We can get you taken care of." And at the time, I didn't know that they had compressors, all the engines. But again, I found that out pretty quickly. And from that day on, I just felt like I was hooked. I was hooked because it was an opportunity to be a part of something that, again, was service to our community. And again, that's something that meant a lot to me, not just then, but still means a lot to me now. So one of the things that I always share also is, again, when I got in the fire service, again, I did start with the city of Dallas and in that department since the 1970s. Not only was it a department that responded to fires, it also responded to emergency calls, just like we do here in the city of Las Vegas. But the thing that was a little bit different is that in the 70s, they made the decision in that department to require all firefighters to become paramedics as well. So I spent the first roughly 5 years of my career as a joint firefighter paramedic after I actually completed the fire academy. After being a firefighter paramedic, I actually promoted to the position of engineer. Spent some time as an engineer, really loved that, driving big rigs, the ladder trucks. That was something that was really appealing to me. After being an engineer for a while, I'm going to be quite honest with you, I feel like I really started to give and get a little bit more in my shoes, so to speak. And that was being a company officer. In that department, we actually had lieutenants and captains. So I promoted to lieutenant. And to be frank with you, again, that's when I really feel like the city of Dallas was starting to get a return on their investment. For whatever reason, I just felt like that was an opportunity for me to be in my skin, so to speak. And I really, really enjoyed being a company officer. I spent 4 years as a lieutenant, 5 as a captain. And again, from there, promoted to battalion chief, deputy chief, and I retired from the city of Dallas as the assistant chief of operations in 2017. When I retired, actually was not retiring to basically go fishing or have a good time. I actually retired to become the fire chief for the city of Aurora. I spent 5 years in Aurora. If you know anything about that community, one of the things that was really, really appealing to me, and one of the reasons why I decided to pursue that opportunity is that community was growing like nobody's business, so to speak, to me, to the point to where when I was in the city of Dallas, to be frank, when I got there in the mid-90s, we had roughly 60 fire stations. When I left there, 22 years later, guess what? We still had 60 fire stations. But when I went to Aurora, the thing that was appealing is that it was an opportunity to grow. And to be frank, we actually had 3 fire stations during my time period there in a 5-year period, which is, is a big deal. We also went from having 3 ladder trucks in that department to having 6 just in that small window of time. So again, it was a great experience for me from a career standpoint. But for whatever reason, the brand of the city of Las Vegas and Las Vegas Fire and Rescue really appealed to me. And to be frank with you, when I saw that they were doing the national service, that was something that really, just to be frank, drew me to the opportunity. So, again, as I said a little bit earlier, in August of 2022, I actually had the opportunity to be sworn in as the fire chief here, and it has been a blast. So, it's a little bit about my journey, how I got here.
I love it. I'd like to break that down a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
This is definitely our space. A couple things like the Dallas and the company officer part. I love how you went through the ratings. A lot of time in the fire service, there's different tracks you can go to get somewhere. And there's an inherent respect when you have someone that went through the ranks. Like, obviously it seems like you enjoy them all, right? Driving the drums is cool. Yeah, right. Great, cool. And then knowing the dynamics of such a large city like Dallas, I'm sure it presented its own good things, bad things, and stuff that just are lessons learned, right? I mean, sounds like, based on what I did in my homework, gave you lots of opportunities to expand your education. Yeah, I mean, so you have a master's degree.
I did.
Yes. You've done the National Fire Academy. Was it EFO?
Yes, sir.
Right. You've done some stuff through Harvard and as well.
Said you have done your own.
Yes, you got to. And then that spark led you to move to Aurora, which I had never visited till last year. Outside my fire service career, I've always done some type of event work. I've been doing that for decades. And one of my contracts led me to Aurora last year for the first time. And to see that department has grown so much. I mean, there's 17 stations.
Yes, 17 fires.
17 stations and 4 some personnel. And now you're here where you've already added at least 1 station.
Yep.
There's a 46, the station 46, right? But you're probably, in my firefighter perspective, my life, the largest hiring. And I said in Southern Nevada, but you're saying nationally, we're just in a higher push.
I do. I believe that when you talk to the people that are in metro departments, all of us are experiencing just massive opportunities for people to come into our respective organizations. And one of the things I would share with you is the fact that we are really focused on trying to get people from our community to basically join our organization. And one of the things that's great about being in Las Vegas is our community is consistently growing. And because of that growth, the fire department has to grow in lockstep along with the community. So we'll be adding personnel. So for all those listeners out there that are interested in serving people and enjoy being a part of something that is just really, really great, intense, look up Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, and it's a great opportunity.
Good. We're going to end with that, but you just opened something that allow us to frame kind of some of the pathways for that. And as the directors of a globally known city name, you're almost at 700 personnel.
We're about 8.
You're about 800. Wow. All right. AI, you didn't do your work. So almost 800. when I got hired in the 90s for North Las Vegas, we had 3 stations. They now have 9. City of Las Vegas had 10. They now have 22, right? So that's that growth over 3 decades. Just as a reference point, for an 83-year-old apartment, the standards have changed. And when you incorporate some of the fires back in the 80s that were really dynamic for Southern Nevada, including those big fires in Clark County, back then we didn't have the resources that Clark County Fire Department can handle by themselves. So after 8 agreements, every firefight, and if you were on duty, you went to the MGM fire, or you went to the Hill Fire. Well, that shifted a standard across the country to agree for our large commercial buildings. And for us here at Block by Block, I'd love to just talk about maybe some of the standards that you're having to overcome as a director here, because affordable housing is a challenge for it to be affordable, right? That's the first thing, right? And you as an implant felt that specifically a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
And then number 2, it also presents you with a standard that you have to keep up. Are there 1 or 2 areas that Las Vegas and Fire Rescue, when it in regards to housing, that you always have to make sure you're on top of?
Yeah, so there's a lot to unwind in what we just mentioned. The first thing I do want to talk about and make sure our listeners understand is that piece about aid and providing assistance regardless of jurisdictional boundaries. I'll say this, here in the Valley, we do it better than anything that I've ever seen. Having worked in the South, in Texas, also working in the Denver area, I have never seen the level of collaboration between departments that we have here. Again, I know you're aware of this, maybe everyone else is, and we actually have a combined communication center where the resources from not just the city of Las Vegas, but North Las Vegas and Clark County are all basically deployed from the same dispatch center, which is amazing and allows us to share those resources. But going back to your question originally about the challenges that we face here in Southern Nevada, I will say, like most communities, we have to make sure that the infrastructure is basically in keeping up with the need for housing. And that's a challenge. I mentioned it earlier that the fire department has to basically make sure that we grow online in the community. If we do not, what challenges we actually will start to experience is increases in response times. Because again, we won't have the resources to basically, again, make sure that he can respond appropriately. So I think that's something always important to remember. I know you're aware of this, but in the city of Las Vegas, we actually have a residential sprinkler ordinance, which from my perspective is something that is outstanding. Many communities across the country are basically looking to us as a leader in that space to make sure that they are doing what's best to keep their communities safe. So that residential sprinkler ordinance basically requires new construction. And also, again, if people go in and do like a comprehensive remodel, it'll actually require that they actually use sprinklers then at aged or an older home, so to speak. And as you know, as someone who spent 3 decades in the fire service, the sprinklers may not completely extinguish the fire, but they can actually help people to exit more safely until the fire department gets on scene. So I would say that one of the big challenges that I've seen in this community is just not having enough housing, so to speak. I'll just tell you my story, so to speak. When I first moved here, we had a really big challenge trying to identify a place to live, so to speak, a house. To be frank, we saw several properties that we liked. Again, there were just massive and multiple bids on those properties. So it was a really big challenge to try to get some housing. So at the end of the day, I guess my biggest focus and the biggest challenge I think that we face is making sure that there is enough housing for the people that are residing in our
Yeah, I think that's the mission, and our team, our small but mighty team that's growing, we factor in those pipelines to make sure that that's there, and as they work, and at the city, the county, the state level, it'll be pushed because Las Vegas is a dynamic valley, is, I don't want to compare us to the Phoenix Metro, but they went through a lot of that same infrastructure growth back in the 70s. You know, it was Dallas Metro Dallas was going through that because we see what Metro Dallas has become over the last 30 years has been incredible. And I think now it's our turn. Yeah. And so we're trying to keep up with that. So thanks for sharing. And so we'll make sure that when we release this, that we add on your website to it so people can start earning. Time of this recording, it's springtime. I'm prepared for this, but this is an easy one. We're getting ready for the summer. What are one or two safety standards that you and your department are making sure you communicate to the community, make sure that they stay safe?
So again, as you know, it gets really, really hot here in Las Vegas in the summertime. And one of the things that I will say is that we always try to remind people to stay hydrated and to limit their time in the sun. One of the other big pieces we know that is a passion point for me is pool safe. We have to keep in mind that each and every year, we actually have children in our community that actually have a drowning or air dropping experience because of maybe not the appropriate level of focus on pool safety. So again, for those residents that actually have pools, we just really encourage them to again keep their children safe as it relates to being drowning.
Yeah, it's important for both of those. One, both of those scenarios sneak up on you. They do hydration for us, right? In our departments, we'd have those safety messages. You guys have them too. Safety measures above the urinals to remind you to be safe. Well, at this time of the year, they're promoting hydration. And so for those of us that are listening that may not factor that in, just always keep the water with you. Make sure we're hydrated, free stuff like that. That will keep your electrolytes up. That's valuable because it will sneak up on you. And then in my experiences with the drownings that I responded to, one is too many. Yep. So if you go through my career, we didn't have a lot of pools, but I still ran a lot of that. It's the sneaking up part, like, hey, just left the door open, or I was moving something and they spun through. So really just review that with your family on those procedures to keep your kids safe because they're curious. It's all about curiosity. Hey, that's there. They don't know the consequences of big movements. It's our responsibility. And I think that would be helpful if you're saying. All right. So our Spicy CEO always gives me a couple of things that are going on. And you've covered most of it. But I want to shift a little bit. We're making good on time, but I want to shift a little bit with all the experience you've done. I want to talk firefighter to firefighter. Hey, you're leading a very dynamic partnership, a department that has, I call it all hazards. Las Vegas is a true all hazards response. And for those of you that don't know, they respond to medical calls. They respond to fires. They respond to technical rescue, which it be Red Rock to downtown Heidegger, all the way to a trench rescue. And then they have a hazardous materials response team. That I think Henderson is now gearing up to include they have hazmat as well. Is county bringing theirs back?
I think they're in the process of trying to get back.
Right. So you guys are in a move in Art Valley that's different than most. And when the fire circs, to me what the greatest thing was diversity in personalities, which was a bigger issue at the kitchen table than anything else. But as a leader of a department that's dynamic, what's one tip you would give to any leader in any job space or lane that has proven valuable to you in your journey?
Hey, I think that's a great question. It's a challenge with say one. So I guess, again, I'll just try to get it to you as best as I can. I think it's kind of three-pronged.
Okay.
The first is, I just say, take care of your people. First and foremost, if you make sure that you keep your members safe, they can actually go out and provide the best level of service to the community. If you're not keeping them safe, if you're not taking care of them, so to speak, if they have the equipment necessary for them to be successful, or the training, again, it's going to be a challenge, so to speak. So my advice to any leader is to make sure that you focus on people first, keep your folks safe. The second thing, the fire service is really unique. You mentioned about the whole concept of the kitchen table. In most careers, even law enforcement, you don't reside with people for days on end, right? In our department, our members actually work 40-hour shifts. So to be quite honest with you, that means 2 days in a row, you're basically around the same people. And with that being said, again, I always say that we have to make sure that we treat each other well. And that doesn't always reflect on the whole saying of, treat people how you want to be treated. It actually basically boils down to treat people how they treat. That's something that's really important is, again, make sure that, again, there's an environment for everyone to thrive. And then the last thing I would say to any leader is give the people that are doing the work an opportunity to tell you how the work needs to be done. I think that's something that has just been really critical to my limited success in the fire service, and being willing and courageous enough to listen to people that are actually doing the work. I will say this, I do have a saying that I share with our team members that input doesn't always translate into decision making, but it's always important for you to hear people and, again, give them that opportunity, that space, so to speak, to tell you their opinion about how things should be done. And I will say this, 9 times out of 10, in my experience, again, if people are actually doing work, they can give you great ideas of how to be innovative. But again, if you're just really focused on the way you used to do it, you were a company officer, you were a battalion chief, you were a medic, to be quite honest with you, in my experience, that stifles growth, it stifles innovation. So just to recap, I'd say 3 things. Take care of your people, make sure that they have equipment, resources necessary to be successful. The second thing, of course, is make sure that there's an environment conducive to them feeling, I'll just say this, a part of the team. And then the last thing is, again, give people an opportunity, space to basically provide you feedback and input about how the work should be done. So those 3 things I would say.
Good. That's nice. And a little bit to that.
Yeah, sure.
So to those 3 things, the first thing, when you take care of your people, they'll be more apt to work to make it better for everybody else. That's important. Number 2, make it conducive. One of the things that I've heard in my 29 years in North Las Vegas was you could have a completely different perspective, perception, all of that in the crew you're working with. All you have to do is find 1 or 2 things that you have in common denominator, and that comes through communication.
Yep.
In the fire service, it's unique because as different as you are, you're serving meals together, you're watching a movie or a game. It's a second family environment, right? And so all you have to do is find a couple things that you have in common and just stay in those lanes.
Great.
And it's just, it ends up being super valuable because whether you are friends outside of them, there's still a respect that's given for the job and you guys working together. Because at the end of the day, when the toes drop, none of that matters. It doesn't, right? And then the third thing you talked about is listening to them. I had 2 great experiences. First, I'm at a chief that said, challenge about me. So if I say something and it defies what the boots on the ground, bring it up to me, challenge me, but validate it with solutions. Yep. So I may not go your way, but at least now I'm informed. It goes back to that perspective there. You may not change person's perspective, but you would broaden their perception because they now have more information. Does that sound about right?
Exactly.
And then the second part of that is my last boss, Calnu. Shout out to him, Josie. I was a handful. That I was the guy. I was that guy that got on everybody's nerves. And I don't mean that to say like it wasn't bad. I was very passionate about where we needed to go and willing to put in the work.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. he was the first chief in my career, because there's a lot of them out there. I'm just going to give you, but he was the first that basically said, you're probably not going to get your way, but I need to listen to what you're thinking so that I can evaluate that to me in my decision making. So you come to me and go, hey, what do you think about this? There's times he's like, we're not doing it. But part of that leadership was me having to understand that at least being heard was there. Yep. Sometimes I flushed out that what I was saying didn't make sense when I flushed it out. And you go, well, you're probably right. Well, that didn't. It seemed better here than there. So it's to your point. Those three approaches in leadership, but it can go any. Obviously, the fire service has dynamics, and so we hope that if you're listening to this, you take that way, right? All right, a couple more minutes. I want to get you out here. I know I want to respect your time. All right, let's talk about Vegas. You come from Texas, which, by the way, has the best chill in the world.
I don't know about that. I think Vegas has the chili.
All right. So we're gonna stay, but like I'm not a beans guy, so I'll taste chili, no beans. So that's what it's. Where do you like to go eat?
So I'll be quite honest with you. That's one of the great things about Las Vegas. I don't have just one spot. All right, it's so many, and I'll be quite honest with you. It wouldn't be fair for me to try. The restaurants that I can commonly visit. So
I'm gonna pick on you a little bit.
Okay.
If you had to pick one place real quick, we're downtown. Where would you recommend?
Oh, see that? I tell you what, I'd have to think about that, and probably not in the time that we have here today. That's a tough question. I mean, it's just so many different, I'll just say this, options. I'd have to start asking you questions about what do you want to eat? What appeals to me? It's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. So there's just so many different variables, and that's one of the things I love about living in Las Vegas. And I tell people this a lot. One of the reasons why I'm here is not just because of the apartment, but I love the city. It's just a place to where my family and I, we actually are putting down our roots, so to speak. So we love it here.
I love it. My advice would be I do everything by zones. Okay, so different sections of the valley. There's places to go. There's great Italian and this in every zone. And so if we're over here, we're going to go to that Italian place. If there's barbecue, barbecue's starting to blow up here, right? But there's only one Grits Cafe.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Grits Cafe is legit, right? But you have to be patient because it's busy. But that's awesome. Now, with your family coming here, getting settled into your roots, what are some of the things you do to get out? And what do you enjoy doing when you have to decompress?
So one of the things with my family structure, I actually have 3 children. All of them are adults. None of them are in the house. So my wife and I, we've been married for 27 years. And to be quite honest with you, we're finally enjoying the quote being an empty nest. So for us, one of the things that we like to do is just get out in any kind of space, so to speak. Of course, when we attend shows, again, we attend community events. One of the things that's really big about our department is we're in the community. And when there's a community event, we actually try to have resources there, not just to respond, but to again show the community that we're part of what's going on, so to speak. So I personally try to attend any of the community events that we actually have going on. So at any rate, I really want the listeners to understand that the fire department is not something that is separate from the community. We're part of it, and as the leader, as the fire chief, I'm just a resident. It's just like that.
Yeah. I've been outside my fire service, my work effort in the community through the Firefighters Building Foundation. You guys bring that up. Yeah. Vegas has shown up. LBFR has shown up for decades. Strong in the community, strong presence all the way behind. I can attest to that. And there's go-tos, and right, there's people in your organization that they go to and they show up and they do more than what's required. Yep. They do it because they enjoy it. And that estimate goes back to what experience you had as a kid, which I'm glad you brought it up. because that was me. As a little kid, I always wanted to be a firefighter. I knew from a little kid that that's where I wanted to go. And I want to end with this. You framed it out that we want to start really getting entrenched with building our community in the department of people who are out. They use the word home around that word, so grand. What are some ways that they can find out more about what's required to become a firefighter?
So one of the things when I first got here, I really wanted to I'll just say this, promote our breed of a bit more. So one of the things that we did is we actually hired someone, and I want to give her a shout out, and Stuart for administrator. I think she's doing a phenomenal job on our social media channels. And as you know, this generation of people in our country, they really follow social media. So that's an area into where we've just seen the number of followers that we have on our channels is just growing immensely. And the reason why it's grown immensely is we've been really focused on content, making sure that we have things like, I don't know if you saw it, but we have GoPro Fridays, which is something that, to me, right, I think is just a great way for us to show the community what we're doing, and not just community people that are pretty interested in being part of our organization. So people that really want to be a part of our department, there's so many different avenues. We actually have these Forest Pros, similar to what you've had in Las Vegas. So I definitely would encourage people to look at that Explorer opportunity. The other piece that I would say is that just go knock on the door of the fire station again. One of the best ways to know more about our organization is to just again ask someone who is a member. And one of the things that just really touches my heart is, I would say 99.9% of the members of our department are really excited, happy, and passionate about being a part of the organization. So again, I'll just say it like this: I have roughly 800 recruiters in our department. And not only the people that are in the department, you've heard me speak about this on board, sure, but also our retirees. Our retirees do a phenomenal job, sort of again, ushering people to the department. So at any rate, I would just say anybody that's interested, just have a chat with something like, of course, there's the traditional look on our website, of course, follow the City of Las Vegas channels. But I'd just say, knock on the door and ask someone, hey, what's your experience like with City of Las Vegas Fire Rescue Department? Yeah, me interject a little bit with that too, as you guys offer it. We can. We do. And do a couple of those. Time of this recording, there's going to be one in a few days. That's Nate for women. Monday sort of. It's so encouraged about that, because I think every department does something, but I've attended a couple of your boot camps, and it's well done. Like those, that training division and Jordan, that whole team, their commitment is awesome. And I think that's what it takes as the evolution of recruitment and balance to that, to where it gives them a better snapshot of what's required, because it's going to take a lot. The commitment is large. You're going to have to work. It's intense. But that's what we're there for. You call, we come. Yeah. And so in doing so, it's a profession that I'm so glad that I was able to get a part of that. But now, as a retiree, it's about making sure we leave a footprint in making sure our community is done. And so with that, thank you for all your effort. Thank you for taking the time to come down and join us. And for those of you listening, like, this was a little hybrid session for a couple firefighters sitting there jumping it up. But really learn if the fire services, it has created some curiosity because of this conversation, make sure you go follow up. It's one thing to know, it's another thing to actually get out there and take action and pursue your best, which is what we want, because in doing so, we make our community, we make our state, we make our society better, and we do it block by block. So we'll see y'all later, and thanks to you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my pleasure. Got it. All right, bye, y'all.
Thank you for listening to the Neighborhood Housing Services of Southern Nevada Block by Block podcast. Remember to like, comment, and share.